Notting Hill. William Thacker's life was quiet. He ran a small travel bookshop in the Notting Hill area of London. It was his little world, filled with the smell of old paper and the promise of distant lands. His world at home was smaller still, a small flat he shared with a flatmate named Spike. Spike was from Wales and he was, to put it kindly, a disaster. He left dirty dishes in the sink for weeks, wore the same stained t-shirt for days, and his main career goal was to figure things out. Will was the opposite. He was neat, polite, and a little bit sad. His wife had left him 3 years ago for a man who looked like a David Cassidy look-alike. Will was just going through the motions. A spilled drink and a stolen kiss. One ordinary Wednesday, the little bell on the bookshop door chimed. Will looked up from his pile of books, and his heart did a small, strange jump. Standing in his shop was the most famous woman in the world, Anna Scott, the Hollywood movie star. He knew her from magazines and films. She was even more beautiful in person. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice a little higher than usual. "I'm just looking, thanks," she said with a small, polite smile. Her voice was American, smooth like honey. She wandered the shelves, her fingers trailing over the books. Finally, she chose a children's book. As she paid, a young woman with a camera burst into the shop. "Anna, Anna, over here." Anna sighed a tired sound. She signed an autograph for the fan, then turned back to Will. "Thanks," she said, and left as quickly as she had arrived. A few minutes later, Will stepped out to buy an orange juice for his colleague Martin. He was walking around a corner, concentrating on not spilling the drink when he collided with someone. Splat! The entire cup of orange juice poured down the front of a white blouse. He looked up horrified. It was Anna Scott. "Oh my God, I am so sorry," he stammered. "It's fine," she said, but her eyes showed it was not fine. Her clothes were soaked. Will's flat was right across the street. It was the only idea he had. "Look, I live right there," he said, pointing. "You can come and change. I have a robe and a washing machine." She looked at him, then at her ruined blouse. "Okay," she said. The flat was a mess. Of course it was. Spike had left his cereal bowl on the coffee table and his underwear on the floor. Will was mortified. He shoved everything into a closet while Anna waited patiently. He gave her his nicest, softest robe, and she disappeared into the bathroom to change. When she came out, she looked peaceful, wrapped in his robe. She walked to the door. "Well, thanks," she said. Then she did something completely unexpected. She moved towards him, put her hand on his shoulder, and kissed him. It was soft and quick, but it was a real kiss. Then she smiled, a real smile, and left. Will stood there, frozen, his mind completely blank. A date with a movie star. A few days later, a man from Anna's hotel called. "Miss Scott would like to invite you to tea at the Ritz Hotel." Will, in his best and only suit, arrived at the famous, glamorous hotel. He felt completely out of place. As he waited in the lobby, a man grabbed his arm. "You're here for the press junket, right? Come on, we're starting." Before Will could explain, he was pushed into a room full of journalists and cameras. Anna was at the front, sitting under bright lights. She saw him and her eyes widened in surprise. A publicist shoved a notebook into his hand. "Next, from Horse and Hound magazine," a man announced. Will stood up, his face bright red. He looked at Anna. Anna," he began, thinking fast. "As a famous film star, do you ever find it difficult, with the writing?" The room went quiet. Anna bit her lip to stop herself from laughing. She answered with a straight face, "It's a challenge, but I manage." After the chaos, they finally met in the hall. "Horse and Hound," she said, a real laugh escaping her. "It was the first thing I thought of," he admitted, smiling. Later that evening, Will's sister Honey was having a birthday dinner at a crowded, fun restaurant. Honey was a huge fan of Anna Scott. Will had only told his friends he was bringing a friend. When Anna Scott walked in, Honey screamed. She practically fainted, but Anna was wonderful. She didn't act like a star. She laughed at Spike's silly jokes, asked Bella and Max about their new baby, and told Honey she loved her necklace. She was just nice. After dinner, they walked through the quiet streets. They came to a private garden, hidden behind a tall black gate. It was a secret square of green in the middle of the city. "I've lived here for years and I've never been inside," Will said. Anna looked at the gate. "I'd like to see it." She climbed over easily. Will less gracefully followed. Inside it was magical. A full moon hung in the sky. They sat on a wooden bench. "In my world, people are always trying to get somewhere," Anna said softly. "This is nice, just sitting." Will looked at her. I'm just a guy, I have a shop, I have a weird flatmate, my life is very normal. That's what makes it so nice, she said, and then she leaned over and kissed him again. This time it wasn't a quick, impulsive kiss, it was a real one. The real world crashes in. Their happiness was fragile. At a fancy restaurant the next day, a table of loud, rude men started talking about Anna. At first they said she was beautiful, then one of them said, "But would you really go out with her? She's an actress, they're all a bit, like prostitutes, really." Will saw the hurt flash in Anna's eyes. He stood up, his chair scraping the floor. He walked to their table, his heart pounding. "Excuse me," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "That's a terrible thing to say." The men looked at him, surprised. One of them sneered, "Who are you, her boyfriend?" Just then Anna appeared next to Will. She smiled her most dazzling, fake movie star smile at the men. "Hi," she said brightly, then her smile vanished. She looked at them with cold, hard eyes. "Remember when you said I was beautiful, and then you said such nasty things? It's funny, I can be a prostitute, but you'll always be idiots." She took Will's hand and they walked away, leaving the men speechless. Later, back in her hotel room, the mood was different. The world felt far away. They talked and laughed. It felt like the beginning of something wonderful. But then there was a knock at the door. A deep voice said, "Anna, it's me, Jeff." Anna's face went pale. "It's my boyfriend," she whispered to Will. "He wasn't supposed to be here, you have to go." Will, feeling humiliated and confused, slipped out the back door of the suite as Jeff came in the front. He walked home alone, the magic completely gone. Heartbreak and a surprise visitor. The next 6 months were grey. Will's friends tried to help. Bella, a lively woman in a wheelchair, and her husband Max set him up on terrible blind dates. His friend Bernie took him to a terrible club. Tony, another friend, tried to set him up with his sister. But Will couldn't stop thinking about Anna. He saw her face on magazine covers everywhere. He felt empty. Then one rainy night there was a knock on his door. He opened it. Anna stood there, soaked to the bone, her hair a mess, no makeup. She looked small and scared. "Can I come in?" she whispered. A huge scandal had just broken in the tabloids. Naked photos of her had been stolen and published. The paparazzi were chasing her like wolves. "I'm so sorry about Jeff," she said, sitting on his sofa wrapped in a blanket. "It was over a long time ago. He just came to complicate things." They spent the evening talking. They discovered they both loved old black and white movies. They both hated the smell of blue cheese. They were just two people connecting. She noticed a painting on his wall, a print of a bride in a blue dress with a floating green goat playing a violin next to her. "That's Chagall," she said. "La Mariée, I love it." "It was my mother's," Will said. "It makes me happy." "That's how love should be," Anna said softly, looking at the painting. "Happiness isn't happiness without a violin-playing goat." That night they finally came together. It felt real and right. Will woke up the next morning happier than he had been in years. Anna was still asleep. But downstairs, Spike was making himself breakfast. A photographer who had followed Anna saw Spike through the window and offered him money for information. "Is Anna Scott in there?" he asked. Spike, always looking for easy money, nodded. "Yeah, mate, she's upstairs with Will." Within an hour, the tiny street was full of paparazzi. Will and Anna woke to the sound of clicking cameras and shouting. They tried to hide, but it was impossible. Will opened the front door just a crack, and 100 flashes went off. A picture was taken of Will, a half-dressed Spike behind him, and a glimpse of Anna. It was in every newspaper the next day. Anna was furious, not just angry but deeply hurt. "You told him," she yelled at Will. "You told your stupid flatmate." "I didn't, he must have figured it out." Will protested, but she wouldn't listen. "This is why I can't have this," she shouted, tears in her eyes. "This is my real life, and this mess, this is yours, they don't mix." She grabbed her bag and left, slamming the door. Will's heart shattered all over again. A second chance. Months passed. Will saw on the news that Anna was back in London, filming a movie based on a Henry James novel. He remembered telling her he loved that book. He gathered his courage and went to the film set. It was a huge, chaotic place. He finally saw her in a beautiful costume, sitting under an umbrella. "Anna," he said. She looked up surprised. "William," she seemed happy to see him for a moment. "Can you wait, we're just about to finish this scene." Will waited. He stood by a craft services table, feeling awkward. He overheard her talking to her handsome co-star. "So who's the guy?" the actor asked. Anna glanced over at Will. Oh, him, he's just someone I knew. He owns a bookshop. It was nothing really, just a silly mistake. The words hit Will like a physical blow. He felt the blood drain from his face. He quietly walked away, got in his car and drove home. The small hope he had carried was gone. But Anna came to him the next day. She walked into his bookshop carrying a flat, wrapped package. She looked determined. I heard what you said, Will said quietly. His voice was hard. I was just a mistake. No, you weren't, she said urgently. You have to understand. In my world, if you say something personal, it becomes public. I have to protect myself. I have to build a wall. I told him you were nothing because you're everything. And I can't let the world know that. They will destroy it. She stepped closer. I love you, William. I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. Will looked at her. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to say yes so badly, but the pain was too fresh. I can't, he said, his voice breaking. I've been here before. You left once. I was a mess for months. If you left again, I don't think I'd survive it. I'm sorry. He shook his head. The fame, the life, the disappearing. It's too big for me. It's a world I don't belong in. He turned away, and she walked out of his shop and his life again. The violin-playing goat. That evening Will met his friends and his sister at a restaurant. On the table he put down Anna's gift. He opened it slowly. It was the original painting, not a print. The actual 1950 Marc Chagall painting, La Mariée. His friends gasped. She gave you a Chagall, Max whispered. Will told them what he had said to her. They were quiet, trying to be supportive. You did the right thing, Tony said, but his voice wasn't sure. I think, Bella added. Just then Spike burst into the restaurant, out of breath. You daft prick, he shouted at Will right in front of everyone. What is wrong with you? That woman loves you. She's a movie star and she loves you. I've messed up my whole life and even I know you don't throw that away. He grabbed Will by the shoulders. She's at the Savoy Hotel. She's doing a press thing. She's leaving the country tonight. G.O. Suddenly everything was clear. Will jumped up. His friends all jumped up with him. They ran out of the restaurant and into the London night. They piled into cars, ran through hotel lobbies, and finally burst into the back of the room where Anna's press conference was just ending. A reporter was asking a final question. Miss Scott, the photos from your friend's flat, are you and the bookshop owner an item? Anna gave a sad, polite smile. No, she said, we're just two people, we were friends. From the back of the room a voice called out, Anna. Everyone turned. It was Will. He was out of breath, his hair a mess. He ignored the cameras and the journalists. He only looked at her. Anna, he said again, the papers are calling me your British bookworm friend, which isn't great, but if I forgot myself and got down on one knee, and if I begged you like a complete fool, would you maybe reconsider being more than just friends? The room was silent. Anna's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. A huge, brilliant, real smile. She turned to the confused reporter. Can you repeat the question? She asked. The reporter, bewildered, looked at his notes. Miss Scott, how long are you intending to stay in Britain? Anna looked past the reporter straight at Will. A slow, beautiful smile spread across her face. Indefinitely, she said. Happiness. Not long after, in a small, beautiful church, William Thacker and Anna Scott were married. Standing with them were all their friends, Max, Bella, Bernie, Tony, and a very proud and surprisingly well-dressed Spike, who was Will's best man. Honey was a bridesmaid, and she cried happy tears the entire time. The wedding cake was magnificent. On top, instead of the usual boring bride and groom, there was a tiny, perfect violin-playing goat made of sugar. Some time later, on a perfect sunny afternoon, Will and Anna sat on the bench in their secret garden. Anna was pregnant, a small, beautiful bump under her shirt. They watched the world go by, quiet and happy. Can I ask you something? Will said. She replied, resting her head on his shoulder. He pointed to the little goat on her necklace, a gift he'd had made for her. The goat, is he happy? She smiled, a contented, peaceful smile. He's very happy. Happiness isn't happiness, Will started. Without a violin-playing goat, she finished, kissing him softly. And for them it was true.